Why you keep attracting the same people into your life? What if I told you that you're not unlucky in relationships? You're unconsciously recreating the same relational patterns. Through psychological mechanisms that operate entirely outside your awareness, your brain doesn't randomly attract people. It uses sophisticated pattern matching systems to identify individuals who fit templates established in childhood. You gravitate toward familiar relational dynamics, even when those dynamics are painful, because your nervous system recognizes them as home. The emotional unavailable partner, the critical friend, the unreliable colleague, they're not coincidences. This isn't cosmic manifestation nonsense. This is hard science. Psychologists at Columbia University, attachment researchers at the University of Minnesota, and neuroscientists studying social cognition have documented exactly how your early relational templates, called internal working models, create unconscious selection filters. You literally cannot see people who don't match your established patterns. Your perception is filtered through relational schemas formed before you could think critically. Ancient psychological wisdom from Carl Jung's concepts of projection, a shadow to Buddhist teachings on samsara, understood that we recreate familiar patterns compulsively. They called it repetition compulsion or karmic patterns. Modern psychology reveals the precise mechanisms. You're not attracting the same people. You're selecting them through unconscious pattern recognition while remaining blind to alternatives. I'm about to expose 10 psychological mechanisms that keep you locked in repetitive relational cycles. Each technique targets a different aspect of your unconscious selection and perception systems. Master these, and you're not just understanding why you're reprogramming the pattern matching algorithms that determine who you notice, who you're drawn to, and who you invite into your life. Your relational patterns are about to become visible. Time to rewrite them. Part 1. The Familiarity Preference Protocol. You think you're attracted to people based on their qualities. Your brain is actually drawn to familiar emotional dynamics, even when those dynamics are destructive or painful. Psychologist Bessel van der Kolk's research on trauma demonstrates that your nervous system seeks familiarity above all else. Known pain feels safer than unknown pleasure, because your system has survival strategies for the known, unfamiliar even. Positive relationships trigger anxiety because your brain lacks established coping patterns. This is technique number 1 out of 10, the Familiarity Preference Protocol. For 30 consecutive days, document every new person you meet or feel drawn to. For each person, write, "This person reminds me of specific person from your past because specific qualities or dynamics." Be ruthlessly honest. Then ask, what familiar dynamic am I recognizing? And is this familiarity serving my growth or repeating my past? Review weekly to identify patterns. Your brain's pattern matching system operates through the amygdala and hippocampus, which tag experiences as familiar or unfamiliar before conscious awareness engages. Familiar patterns, even painful ones, feel safe because they're known. You're making unconscious familiarity seeking visible so you can consciously choose differently. Studies on attachment show that people consistently choose partners whose relationship style matches their childhood attachment figures. Familiarity overrides conscious preference. Start documenting familiarity patterns and watch your unconscious selection criteria become visible as you recognize who you're actually attracted to and why. Part 2. The projection withdrawal system. You believe you're seeing people accurately. You're actually projecting disowned parts of yourself onto them, attributes you've rejected in yourself that you now either idealize or criticize in others. Psychologist Carl Jung's concept of projection explains that qualities you haven't integrated in yourself get projected outward. If you've denied your own anger, you'll be magnetized to angry people. If you've rejected your vulnerability, you'll attract needy people who embody what you've disowned. This is technique number 2 out of 10, the projection withdrawal system. Identify 3 people in your life who trigger strong reactions, positive or negative. For each person, complete this statement 10 times. Person's name is quality that bothers or attracts me. Then write, I am same quality, and list 10 specific examples from your life where you've demonstrated that quality. Do this exercise for 20 different people over 40 days, accumulating self-knowledge about your disowned traits. Projection occurs because your psyche seeks wholeness. By externalizing what you've rejected internally, strong attraction or repulsion indicates projected material. You're reclaiming projections. By recognizing how the qualities you see in others exist, and you're reducing the compulsive magnetism toward people who embody your shadow. Research on projection shows that people accurately see in others what they deny in themselves. The stronger the denial, the stronger the projection. Start with drawing projections systematically and watch your attraction patterns shift as you integrate disowned qualities rather than seeking them externally. Part 3. The childhood template identification. Your adult relationships are unconscious recreations of your earliest relationship patterns. You're not meeting new people, you're casting them in roles from your original family drama. Attachment researcher Mary Ainsworth's work demonstrates that infant attachment patterns with caregivers create internal working models of relationships that persist into adulthood. These templates operate automatically, shaping who you're drawn to and how relationships unfold. This is technique number 3 out of 10, the childhood template identification. Write detailed descriptions of your relationship with each primary caregiver during childhood, their emotional availability, consistency, criticism, warmth, reliability. Then list every significant adult relationship and identify which caregiver each person most resembles. Create a visual map showing the connections. Spend 90 minutes on this exercise. Then review it weekly for 8 consecutive weeks, adding insights as they emerge. Your brain encoded relational templates during critical developmental periods. When neural pathways were forming, these templates create unconscious expectations and attraction patterns. You're making implicit templates explicit, bringing unconscious selection criteria into conscious awareness where you can evaluate and modify them. Studies show 75% of people recreate their primary attachment patterns in adult relationships. The childhood template is destiny unless made conscious. Start mapping childhood templates onto adult relationships and watch repetitive patterns become visible as you recognize you've been recasting the same dynamics repeatedly. Part 4. The validation-seeking recognition. You're drawn to people who withhold what you desperately wanted in childhood. You unconsciously believe that if you can finally get these new people to provide what your parents couldn't, you'll heal the original wound. Psychotherapist Harville Hendricks's work on imago theory reveals that people are attracted to partners who embody both the positive and negative traits of their caregivers. The unconscious logic: if I can get this person who resembles my withholding parent to love me, I'll prove I was lovable all along. This is technique number 4 out of 10, the validation-seeking recognition. Identify the specific emotional need your caregivers didn't meet: validation, attention, emotional safety, approval, affection. Then list every person you've been attracted to and document how each person was emotionally unavailable in that exact way. Right? I keep choosing people who withhold specific need because I'm trying to prove specific belief about myself is false. Repeat this analysis for 15 different attraction patterns. Over 30 days, your psyche compulsively recreates unmet childhood needs in adult relationships, unconsciously hoping for different outcomes. This keeps you locked in relationships where you're trying to earn what should be freely given. You're exposing the unconscious healing strategy that actually perpetuates the wound. Research on repetition compulsion shows people consistently choose partners who recreate rather than resolve childhood wounds. Familiarity overwhelms healing. Start recognizing validation-seeking patterns and watch your attraction to emotionally unavailable people diminish as you see the fuel healing strategy at work. Part 5. The boundary detection calibration. You can't recognize red flags because your early environment normalized behaviors that should trigger alarm. What feels normal to you would feel dangerous to someone with different conditioning. Psychologist Pete Walker's work on complex PTSD explains that children raised in dysfunctional environments develop distorted normal meters, behaviors that should signal danger, manipulation, volatility. Boundary violations don't trigger warning systems because they match your baseline experience. This is technique number 5 out of 10, the boundary detection calibration. Create to list behaviors I experience regularly in childhood and behaviors that make me uncomfortable in current relationships. Compare the lists. What's on the first but missing from the second reveals your blind spots. Then ask 3 people raised in healthy families what behaviors would be relationship deal breakers for you. Document the differences between their boundaries and yours. Practice this comparison exercise for 50 days, expanding both lists. Continually, your nervous system's alarm systems calibrate based on early environment. If chaos was normal, you won't detect chaos as dangerous. If emotional manipulation was standard, you won't recognize it as abusive. You're recalibrating your danger detection systems by comparing your normalized baselines against healthier standards. Studies on domestic violence show that people raised with abuse are 7 times more likely to tolerate abuse. In adult relationships, normalized trauma becomes invisible. Start calibrating boundary detection and watch red flags become visible as you recognize behaviors you've been unconsciously tolerating. Part 6. The complementary dysfunction pairing. You're attracted to people whose dysfunctions interlock perfectly with yours, creating stable but unhealthy relationship systems. Your patterns aren't random, they're complementary. Systems therapist Murray Bowen's work on differentiation explains that people with similar levels of unresolved emotional issues find each other with uncanny accuracy. An overfunctioner attracts an underfunctioner. A pursuer attracts a distancer. The patterns fit like puzzle pieces. This is technique number 6 out of 10, the complementary dysfunction pairing. Identify your primary relationship role. Are you the caretaker, the fixer, the pursuer, the controller, the victim, or the rescuer? Then identify the complementary role your partners typically play. Map out 10 past relationships, documenting your role and theirs. Notice the pattern. Do you always attract the same complementary dysfunction? Write specifically how your pattern. And there's create a stable dysfunctional system. Review and update this analysis for 60 consecutive days. Complementary dysfunctions create homeostatic balance. Each person's pathology stabilizes the others. Your caretaking enables their helplessness. Their unavailability justifies your anxiety. You're recognizing that you're not just attracted to dysfunction, you're attracted to specific dysfunctions that match your own, like lock and key. Research on couple dynamics shows that partners' psychopathology levels correlate strongly. People choose partners at their same level of unresolved issues. Start identifying complementary dysfunction patterns and watch attraction to familiar role players decrease as you recognize the interlocking pathology systems. Part 7. The unmet need displacement you're seeking in relationships. What you should be developing in yourself. Every unmet internal need gets displaced onto external people, who inevitably fail to fill the void only you can fill. Psychologist Carl Rogers' work on self-actualization reveals that people seek externally what they haven't cultivated internally: wholeness, validation, purpose, identity. Relationships become vehicles for meeting needs that can only be met through self-development. This is technique number 7 out of 10, the unmet need displacement. List everything you're seeking in relationships: validation, security, purpose, excitement, worth, identity, meaning. For each item, ask, how am I outsourcing this need to others instead of developing it internally? Then create a specific action plan for meeting each need yourself. I will build my own validation by practice one self-met need daily for 70 consecutive days, documenting your growing internal capacity. Displace needs create impossible expectations for relationships. No person can provide your identity, validate your existence, or create your purpose. These are internal development tasks. You're reclaiming responsibility for meeting your own needs, which eliminates the compulsive attraction to people you hope will complete you. Studies on codependency show that people who seek completion through others never find it. The external search perpetuates internal emptiness. Start meeting your own displaced needs internally and watch desperate attraction to completing people dissolve as you develop internal wholeness. Part 8. The familiar discomfort tolerance. You don't just tolerate toxic dynamics, you're unconsciously comfortable with them. Healthy relationships feel uncomfortable, foreign, even threatening because they lack the familiar emotional intensity you mistaken for passion or connection. Psychotherapist Pia Melody's work on love addiction explains that people raised with intensity, drama, conflict, volatility find calm relationships boring. The absence of chaos feels like absence of connection because your nervous system equates arousal with intimacy. This is technique number 8 out of 10, the familiar discomfort tolerance. When interacting with healthy, consistent, emotionally available people, document your discomfort. I feel bored, anxious, disconnected with person because they're stable, consistent, calm. Do this for 30 interactions with healthy people, then ask, what familiar discomfort am I missing? And am I confusing intensity with intimacy? Deliberately spend time with emotionally healthy people for 90 days. Tolerating the discomfort of unfamiliarity. Your nervous system became conditioned to associate love with specific feeling states from childhood. If love came with anxiety, you now seek anxiety to feel love. If connection involved intensity, calm feels like disconnection. You're retraining your nervous system to recognize that discomfort with healthy dynamics reveals conditioning. not incompatibility. Research on trauma bonding shows that intensity creates powerful neurochemical addiction. People mistake arousal for connection. Start tolerating discomfort with healthy people and watch your attraction patterns shift as unfamiliar calm becomes recognizable as actual safety. Part 9. The repetition interruption exercise. Breaking relational patterns requires not just awareness, but deliberate behavioral interruption. You must consciously choose different people and different responses even when every fiber of your being pulls toward the familiar. Psychologist Jeffrey Young's schema therapy demonstrates that insight alone doesn't change patterns. You must engage in deliberate pattern-breaking behaviors that feel wrong because they contradict your established schemas. This is technique number 9 out of 10. The repetition interruption exercise. Identify your exact relationship pattern. I'm attracted to type of person, which leads to predictable outcome, leaving me feeling specific feeling. Then commit to deliberately choosing differently. If you're drawn to someone, ask, does this person match my pattern? If yes, consciously step back. Simultaneously, approach people who don't trigger attraction but demonstrate health. Force yourself into 5 interactions with pattern-breaking people over 60 days. Documenting your discomfort and discoveries, patterns persist because they're rehearsed. Breaking them requires deliberate practice of new behaviors that feel unnatural initially. You're building new neural pathways by acting against your habitual pull. Creating new relational templates through intentional experience. Studies on behavioral change show that conscious pattern interruption is essential awareness. Without behavioral change maintains patterns. Start deliberately interrupting familiar patterns and watch new relationship possibilities emerge as you force yourself toward unfamiliar but healthy dynamics. Part 10. The self-worth foundation building. Here's something that will blow your mind. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe you deserve. Your unconscious self-worth determines your relational ceiling. Psychologist Nathaniel Brandon's work on self-esteem reveals that people unconsciously seek relationships that match their self-concept. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll sabotage healthy relationships and accept unhealthy ones because they align with your self-perception. This is technique number 10 out of 10, the self-worth foundation building. Daily for 100 consecutive days. Complete this practice. Morning, write 5 specific things you like about yourself. Midday, catch yourself in self-criticism and deliberately reframe it compassionately. Evening, list 3 ways you honored your own worth today. Additionally, once weekly, do something solely for your well-being with no justification needed. Track your self-worth rating 1 to 10 weekly to see the trajectory. Self-worth isn't built through affirmations, it's built through consistent self-honoring behaviors that demonstrate to yourself that you matter. Your brain updates self-concept based on behavioral evidence, not wishful thinking. You're providing daily proof of your worth, which raises your relational standards unconsciously. Research shows that self-worth predicts relationship quality. More than any other factor, people don't accept better than they believe they deserve. Start building self-worth through daily self-honoring, and watch your attraction to unhealthy people decrease, as rising self-worth elevates your relational standards automatically. Closing these 10 mechanisms aren't separate problems. They're an integrated system of unconscious pattern perpetuation that keeps you locked in repetitive relational cycles. You're not cursed or unlucky. You're operating from unconscious templates that determine who you notice, who attracts you, and who you invite into your life. Familiarity Preference Protocol exposes safety and sameness. Projection Withdrawal System reclaims shadow material. Childhood Template Identification maps original blueprints. Validation-seeking recognition reveals healing through repetition attempts. Boundary Detection Calibration restores danger signals. Complementary Dysfunction Pairing exposes interlocking pathologies. Unmet Need Displacement returns responsibility internally. Familiar Discomfort Tolerance retrains arousal intimacy confusion. Repetition Interruption Exercise forces pattern breaking. Self-worth foundation building raises relational standards. Ancient psychological wisdom understood repetition compulsion. Jung spoke of projection and shadow. Buddhist psychology detailed how we recreate suffering through unconscious patterns. They knew that awareness alone transforms, making the unconscious conscious dissolves its power. Modern psychology confirms their insights with documented mechanisms. Your early relational templates create filters that determine who you can even perceive as potential partners. You're not attracting the same people, you're selecting them through unconscious recognition. While remaining blind to alternatives, your transformation doesn't start tomorrow or next week. It starts the moment you document your next attraction and ask what familiarity you're recognizing. It starts when you complete your childhood template mapping. It starts when you deliberately choose someone who doesn't match your pattern, the version of you who builds healthy relationships with emotionally available people. Emerges when unconscious pattern matching becomes conscious choice. You can't change patterns you can't see. Your future self is waiting with relationships that nourish rather than repeat, chosen consciously rather than compulsively.